Welcome to another video by WA Courses. This is an advanced Word tutorial about formatting your document. We will be going over all of these features. Let's take a quick look. How to create a title using styles. How to modify and create a style. The styles pane. The ruler. How to use the tab key and how to set tabs. How to edit a table. Using captions, how to insert footnotes, endnotes, and how to insert special characters. We will be talking about page breaks, what they are, how to insert references and bibliography, how to work with graphics, pictures, and shapes, and finally, the page layout. When starting a new document, the first thing you usually do is to type in a title. Titles need to stand out from the rest of the text. To achieve this, most people turn on bold and select a larger font size. Then reset them after typing the title so they can continue with the rest of the document. But Word provides a facility to do this automatically. Turning on bold, italic, underline, and changing your fonts and font sizes explicitly is not the best way to create a title. In Microsoft Word, you have different heading styles already set up for you. So in the Home tab, there is something called a Styles group. Click on heading 1, for example, and type in the title of your work. Advanced Word. The text automatically appears in larger letters and a different color. Now, Word has also, in the styles, a title style, but here the font is much larger, 28 points. Heading styles have different advantages, so we'll stick to those. Styles are simply different types of formatted text. It is better to use them rather than setting up a particular format manually for several reasons. First of all, you don't have to keep clicking on the toolbar buttons to activate and deactivate the settings. Secondly, you don't have to remember how different heading and subheading levels have been set up. Then, if you alter a style, text defined in that style changes throughout the whole document. Also, another advantage is that you can create your own styles. And most importantly, heading styles are used to generate a table of contents automatically. And this is very important. We talk about table of contents in another tutorial. Now, you may not like the way the heading 1 style has been set up. There are several ways to change this. The easiest begins as follows. Click 3 times on your heading in order to select it. Make the desired changes to the font. I would like it 18 and colored green. Finally, right-click on the heading 1 that we had chosen and choose Update Heading 1 to match selection. Whenever you use the Heading 1 style again in this document, the new settings will be used. Note that this change only applies to this document. If you start up a new document, the old heading 1 settings are used. We'll see later on how to change the default settings for all our documents. Now we need to decide on how we want the rest of our text to appear. Now notice, as soon as I hit enter, the style selection is the normal style. So the rest of our document will be using the normal style. The normal style has not only font settings, but also paragraph settings. Now we can modify this style so that it will apply to the rest of our document. Let's choose our font settings first, and size, and color of the text. Now, by clicking on the Launch button in the Paragraph group, we can also see the paragraph settings. Notice that the default setting for a normal style paragraph has the line spacing slightly greater than single, so it's 1.08, with extra space separating one paragraph from the next by 8 points. This saves you from having to press enter twice at the end of each paragraph. To change this spacing, we could select here and choose what spacing we'd like to apply. Now, let's take a look at line and page breaks. Currently, window orphan control is set on. This ensures you don't have a single line of a paragraph isolated from the rest when printing. So at least 2 lines will be shown on the top or bottom of the page. Now, once we have the paragraph setting that we like, we will press OK. So now I have set my font and my paragraph. I can right-click on the normal style and click Update Normal to match selection. It is important to change the style in this way so that it will apply to the entire document and not just one paragraph or one piece of it. So let's try pasting a piece of text here. And we see that it is the font that I selected, the font size, and the paragraph settings with the space between here. Now, you may also want to create your own styles for particular pieces of work. For example, I have some instructions here, and I would like them to have different settings from the rest of the document. Now, we can make the required change to this paragraph. First, let's select it. And we can go and change the paragraph setting of this particular part of my text. I would like double spacing. Okay. And my font size, I would like it to be slightly larger. And also a different color. Now, I can choose to make this style a different style by right-clicking, selecting Styles, and create a style. I would like to call this new style Instructions, and this is what it looks like. And okay, here is my new style called Instructions. Now, I can also modify the style if I'm not satisfied with it by right-clicking on it, select Modify, and make the changes. So I'm not satisfied with the color. I would like a dark blue. Okay. And I have changed my instruction style. Now, one last thing. When I have created a heading using a style, you'll notice that this little arrow pops up. Now, look what happens when I click on it. The text that's below it disappears, and by clicking again, it reappears. This is a great function, and it may come in handy. One last note on the style section. If you plan on using the style settings a lot in this document, it would be a good idea to click on the Styles Launch button and open up the Styles pane, which is this. So you always have it here. Of course, you can close it whenever you like, but it's a good idea to have it here on the right side. Now I'd like to talk about the ruler. The ruler used to be an integral part of Microsoft Word right up to Word 2007. In the later versions, it isn't displayed by default, but it can be easily turned back on. In fact, it shows you several important paragraph settings and can be used to set tab positions. To display the ruler, click on the View tab, and then in the Show group, click on Ruler. Now, the ruler, which is marked here in inches, is used to set the layout of the text across the page, including margins, tab positions, and indents. Now, this arrow up here is the first line indent. The bottom arrow is hanging indent, and the little square is left indent. And over here we have the right indent. Now, let's work on a document that has just one paragraph. Here we are. Now, in the Home tab, in the Paragraph group, by clicking on this button here, Increase Indent, you see what happens to our paragraph. The text will move in one tab stop. Now, each tab stop is ½ an inch. Now, I would like my first line indented, but not the whole paragraph. By clicking on Decrease Indent, it goes back to where it was. I can use this arrow up here, First Line Indent, to indent my first line. And now it looks like a paragraph. Let's press the Undo button so it can go back to its original position. Now, you may have noticed that the marker jumps along the ruler rather than moves smoothly. If you need to set the indent precisely, you can hold down Alt and drag, and this will show you the exact position. Another way is from the Paragraph group. Now, let's try changing the hanging indent, which is this arrow here. We can indent the rest of the paragraph too. Now, to indent the right side, we would use this arrow. Let's give it a try. Okay, so let's press Undo, and there we are. Now, let's talk about tabs. Tabs are special characters used for lining up text. They should always be used and not use spaces when this is required, as for example, in a vertical list. Spaces may appear to line things up. However, when the document is printed, the carefully spaced text rarely lines up properly. Now let's explore how the Tab key works. The Tab key is immediately above Caps Lock on your keyboard. Now, let's press Enter here for a new paragraph. Now, if you press Tab, you'll see that the cursor moves across the screen in jumps of about ½ an inch each time. Then, with backspace, we can remove them and return to the typing position on the left. Now, let's delete this text and start with something new. Okay, so let's write name and hit Tab twice. 1, 2. Samantha. Now remember that if I hit enter now, it would be like I'm switching paragraphs. I'm starting a new paragraph, but I'm not. I just want to go to the next line. I can do this by hitting Shift and Enter. There we go. No extra space between the lines. Address and tab once, twice. King Street. Shift and Enter. Age, tab. 3 times now, but it is still aligned with the name and the address. Age 40. Now, if I tried to get this kind of alignment using the space bar, believe me, it would not work. So you can see the usefulness of the tabs. Another thing I can do is set my own tabs. So for example, this little button here is the center tab. If I click on the ruler, I see that little icon. So now this is a tab position. I can make another. So my cursor is here. By hitting tab, I am now aligned with my tab. You can see it there. There it is. So let's write something here. Let's write left. Now, let's see what happens when I hit tab again. My second tab. There it is. When I hit tab again, my cursor, my next tab, and hit tab again, the next one. Now, let's move on to table formatting. We have this table. Now, one thing you should be aware of during the typing process is, for example, let's retype here, starters. Now, if I hit enter to go on to the next line, it will not go into the next cell. It expands the cell downwards. So rather than hitting enter, you can just either click with your mouse or use the tab on the keyboard. Just like that. Much easier. Now when I get to the end of the table, if I hit tab again, it inserts a new row. Let's undo that. Now let's try something else. Imagine in this cell, I would like some more information. With chocolate chip ice cream. Now you see how the cell expands downward by itself. So text wraps by default in Word. So let's undo our last typing. Now by default, the columns are also all the same width. If I wanted to change the width manually, place the cursor here until you see a double-headed arrow, click and drag. We can also do it over here, click and drag, and click and drag. Now let's undo these last changes. If I want to resize the columns to fit the data that's here exactly, I would place the cursor here until I see a double-headed arrow again and double-click. Here, right here, and here. Ready. See how the columns now fit the data exactly. But I preferred it the way it was before. So let's undo the changes. Okay, now I'd like to insert another row at the top, above my first row. So how can I do that? If I hover my mouse here on the side, I see a plus sign. By clicking on it, a new row is added. But that's not where I want my row. I would like my row at the beginning, so I don't have that option here. The same goes for the columns. You see a little plus sign here, you can add a column. So how can I insert a row at the top? Go to Layout, and you see all these buttons here in the rows and columns group. It says insert above, insert below. These two are for rows. Insert left and insert right for columns. Okay, so my cursor is placed in the first row, and I would like to insert a row above this. There we are. Now, you must be careful when doing this, because if, for example, let's undo that. If, for example, I have selected two rows and I click on Insert Above, it will insert two rows. The same goes for columns. So if I have selected two columns and I click on Insert Right, it will insert two columns. So be careful when you're doing that. Okay, so I would like one row above this. Now, this row I would like to be a main heading of my table. So I don't really need the three columns that I see here. What can I do to make the three cells into one? Again, in the Layout tab, I can click on Merge Cells. Now, it has turned into one cell. Now I can type my title. My title is Menu. Now, there are some important table properties of which you should be aware. These allow you, for example, to set a heading row for a table, which will also be repeated if the table splits over two pages, prevent a row from splitting across a page, or set a row to a fixed height. To see these table properties, I can either right-click in a cell and choose Table Properties, or from the Layout tab, I can choose from the first group, Properties. Now this window pops up. We have the Table tab, Row, Column, Cell, and Alt Text. Let's start with the row properties. Now, let's see what this does. Specify height. Let's click on that and let's choose a specified height. My row height now will be at least 0.3 inches. Now, I don't want it to be at least. I want it to be exactly. And let's click on OK and see what happened. See, the height here got adjusted. Now, even if I press Enter, it will not expand downwards. Let's undo those changes. So let's go back to our properties. Now, ideally, cells in a table shouldn't split across pages, and the top row should be a header row. Now, let's turn on the Repeat as Header row at the top of each page. So in case our table expands to multiple pages, we will have the header row on each page. And then deselect Allow row to break across pages. We do not want this. Now, let's take a look at the column tab. We have preferred width. Let's not make any changes right now there. Let's click on OK. Now, I would like my two first rows to stand out as headings. So I can go to the Table Design tab Okay, so here in the table styles options, I only want a header row. I don't want a first column and I don't want banded rows. Now I can choose from the table styles a style that works for me. Or alternatively, I could go back to the Home tab and choose a style from here. Okay, heading 1. And for my second row, there we are. Now I would like everything aligned in the center, so I will select the table. From the layout, we have an alignment group. So we have top left, top center, top right, and so on. I always like to choose align center horizontally and vertically. And there we are. Now we can make some more adjustments to our table. Let's select it and go to table design. We can choose shading. I would like to shade just the heading row with gray. Okay. I can change my borders by selecting the table and clicking on borders, or if I only want borders of a particular row or cell or column, I would select that. So, for example, in this cell, I would like no borders. There we are. Okay, let's undo that. Now, in the same way that heading styles should be used for your main headings, as we have talked about in the previous video, captions should be used for your figures and tables. These can then automatically generate a table of figures and a table of tables and allow you to cross-reference them in your text. Now, click anywhere inside the table. Click and go to the Reference tab. Choose Insert Caption from the Captions group. Okay, so Table 1 is menu. Label, it is a table. Now the default position is above the selected item. I would like my caption to go below the selected item. And okay, here it is, Table 1, menu. And we have completed our table formatting. Now let's move on to footnotes and endnotes. What exactly are they? Footnotes and endnotes are used in printed documents to explain, comment on, or provide references for text in a document. One basic difference between them is that footnotes appear at the bottom of the same page, while endnotes appear at the end of the paper. And this is the reason why many people use footnotes for detailed comments and endnotes for citation of sources. So, how do we insert footnotes? First, move the typing position to where the footnote indicator should appear. So I would like to insert a footnote here, right next to footnote. Now go to the Reference tab, click on the Insert Footnote button, which is here in the Footnotes group. So insert footnote. And see here we see our footnote. I have typed in my footnote. So footnotes are used to explain, comment on, or provide references for text in a document. And a number 1 has appeared here. So this is our footnote. It indicates there is a further explanation of this at the end of the page. Let's try another. I would like another footnote here. Insert footnote. I have typed in my second footnote, so endnotes appear at the end of the paper. And here it is, number 2. So if I wanted to delete a footnote, I could simply click backspace and delete. Let's see, and it's gone from here, so I only have 1 footnote left. Now let's move on to special characters. As well as the characters found on the keyboard, you might want to include special mathematical symbols, fractions, accented characters. So to insert a special character, click on the Insert tab, and on the far right corner over here, click on Symbol. We have a few characters here, but let's click on more symbols. So a window pops up with all the symbols and special characters you can think of. You can either select a different font, which might give you some different characters. And from here we have subsets, categories. Okay, so Greek and Coptic, Armenian, Arabic, phonetic extensions, and so on. Currency symbols. Okay, so I want a currency symbol. I would like one from the recently used, the pound symbol. I just need to click on it and then click on Insert. There it is, the pounds. Now, you'll notice here that it says shortcut key Alt plus 0163. Now, this is not very intuitive. If you plan on using this symbol a lot, you can change the shortcut key. Click here, shortcut key, and here where it says press new shortcut key, insert the keys that you'd like. So for me, it would be easy to use Control plus P. That is my new shortcut key. Assign and close. Close this down too. Now let's see. Will it work? Control P. There it is, the pound sign. And you can do the same for whatever special character you want. Now let's move on to page breaks. Sometimes you may wish to start a new page, for example, for a new section, or to put a table or diagram on a separate page. Now, what most people would do is start hitting enter until they reach a new page here. So now I'm going to show you why this is not the correct way to do things. So let's insert some more text here. First, let's write something here so you can see where it will end up. Okay, so let's just copy and paste. Okay, now let's take a look at the second page. You see that our text has moved down. This is not what I intended to do in the first place. So let's undo everything. Okay, so the right way to do this would be using a page break. Go to the Insert tab and click on Page Break. Now, whatever I write here will stay here. So let's try that again. Copy and paste. It's still in place. It hasn't gone downwards. So keep this in mind before you start hitting enter, enter, enter. It is a great way to insert a new page and put a new section on a new page. Moving on to references and bibliography. When writing an essay or dissertation, you may want to include a bibliography. Now, position yourself in the text. Let's try here, for example. Click on the References tab and then click on Insert Citation. Add a new source. Okay, so I got this information from a book. The author is Smith. The title is Advanced Word, Year 2020, and so on. Okay, and there we have it. So this is my reference. I got this information from this book. Now, by clicking also in the References tab, Bibliography, let's choose this one. At the end of my paper, I will have my references. Bibliography, Smith, 2020, Advanced Word is the title of the book. Now, a decent Word document always needs some graphics, pictures, or shapes. So I can insert a picture from the Insert tab. By clicking on Pictures, I would choose from a collection of my pictures, but let's try online pictures. Okay, so we have categories here. I'd like an airplane. Thank you. This will do. Click on it and insert. There's my airplane. Now I can resize this image by clicking here on the double arrow that appears and dragging. Now we see these other little circles here too. If I try to resize my image from here, it will change proportions, and I do not want that. This little circular arrow here allows me to rotate the picture. By right-clicking on the image, I could change the style. Let's try that. Styles are also here in the Picture Format tab which popped up. So let's try it from here. I can choose a style. A framed airplane. Okay. What else can I do? Color, artistic effects, transparency. So many options here to choose from. From the Reference tab, I would click on Insert Caption. Okay, so label. This is not a table. This is a new label. Image. Okay, it is an image. It's image number 1, plane in the sky. And okay, so image 1, plane in the sky. Now I would like to insert a shape. From the Insert tab, click on Shapes and choose a shape. Let's choose a call-out. Here it is. Let's resize it. Okay, by right-clicking on it or from the Shape Format ribbon, we can change the settings. So Shape Fill, I would like a grey. Shape Outline, black. Shape Effects, you can choose a number of effects from here. Now, I would like to insert some text into the callout, which is not very easy by just trying to move the cursor right into the shape. I could go to Insert, a text box. I would like a simple text box. Here it is. Drag it to the position. Write what I want in the text box. Resize, just as a picture. I can change the font size, the font, and ready. But I don't really like the frame, so I can right click and on outline, no outline. I can even fill it with the same color as my callout. So let's try and do that. Fill. Yes. There we are. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is page layout. So, page layout, layout tab. Now we can see that we can change the margins of our document to normal, narrow. Narrow is what I usually prefer. Moderate, wide, etc. So let's keep narrow for now. You can change the orientation of your document from portrait to landscape. You can change the size of your paper, but the usual size is A4. And you can change how many columns you would like in your document. So let's try changing this. 2 columns. So this all went into my first column. And here is my second column. Now, imagine that I wanted in the same page or within the same document to have different types of layout. So I would like one page to have normal margins and the next page to have narrow margins. Or I would like one page to have just 1 column, but the next page to have 2 columns. Or even within the same page, not on a different page. This is where breaks come in. Breaks in the layout tab, of course, breaks. So we can choose to place a section break on the next page or insert a section break and start a new section on the same page. Let's try on the same page. Now imagine that I would like the rest of this page to have 3 columns. I would go to breaks and click on continuous because I would like to start a section break on the same page. Now I can format the layout for the rest of this page however I like. I would like 3 columns. So let's see if that really happened. And yes, we have 3 columns. Now, if I wanted to make changes to the next page, I would go to the next page, click on breaks, and click on next page. So I want my next page to have normal margins and 2 columns. Okay. And my second column. So that is the usefulness of breaks. You can change the layout of your document within the same page even, or Each page can have its own layout. You could even, let's change this back to one column. Okay, so you could even change the orientation of the next page. So my first page is portrait. My second page is landscape. That was the end of the advanced Word tutorial on formatting your document. Thank you for watching.